Welcome. We're here today with Mary Bosman, local Sturgeon Bay artist who grew up in town and spent a lot of time at the library in Sturgeon Bay reading books, and she was fascinated by the books about horses. So as a result of these stories, she decided to teach herself to draw. Welcome, Mary.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. Very, very glad.
Let me share my screen so we can see some of the drawings that you did when you were a young girl. What age were you about when you started?
I believe I started somewhere around 5th grade and kept going, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. But I think I was done by the time I got to high school. And I believe I drew about between 60 and 75 horse drawings. Now, I can't believe that I did that many, but I've got them right here. I've got a notebook full of them. And it's really fun to see how I was so amateurish, of course, because I didn't know how to draw. I just copied. I'd never traced any picture at all. I never traced it. I just looked at the pictures that were illustrations in the books, and I just decided to start drawing on lined, of all things, lined notebook paper. So I've still got all of these. Yep.
So here's a couple pictures of the library. This is in Sturgeon Bay.
Oh, look at that. Yes, yes.
Inside, this is actually maybe a little bit before your time, a few years, but that's basically what it looked like in those days.
Oh, yes.
So
Oh, I loved going there. I loved getting the books and taking them out. Yep.
Let's talk about this first book that you illustrated. What can you tell us about it?
Well, I can tell you about the illustrations. I don't remember the stories very much at all anymore. I mean, that was over 40 years ago. That was a long, long time ago. So the wild wing here that we have on the right, if you look at the picture, the horse's eyes are almond shaped. And also, if you look on the rocks here, I did not know at that time how to draw the horse's fetlock or the hooves, so I always hid them, and I hid them either behind rocks, within grass, sand, snow, hay, anything to avoid drawing the hooves. And another thing to look at over here too is that the tail looks like one solid piece of whatever. It does not look like hair. Now over here with the newer one that I had done, now you can see the hooves. Now you can see the mane and tail blowing in the wind, and you can see shading too. So that's what's so much fun about. Oh, and by the way, the little tiny bits of grass, can you see them? All these tiny little, I think that's really silly, stuck in the rocks. It's just so young, basically. I don't know. But was one of my very early drawings.
Well, you can certainly see how you improved from the first drawing.
Oh, yes, yeah. You just got to do it over and over and over again, no matter what it is, and by golly, you'll get better. You'll get better.
And can I add one thing? In my research, I found that the author of this book, Phoebe Erickson, is from Door County also.
Oh, yes, yes.
She's actually was born in North Bay, up near Bailey's Harbor, just north of Bailey's Harbor. She was the 12th of 13 children born to a Swedish couple who had immigrated to this country.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Oh.
And she then went on to the art school in Chicago, the Chicago Art Institute, when she was young, and graduated from there. So she became a great drawer, and her drawings are now in the university. Her papers are in the University of Minnesota, the University of Southern Mississippi, and the Miller Art Museum, and the Bailey's Harbor Library apparently have some of her drawings also. So she became pretty celebrated. Not only did she draw the books and write the books on horses and other animals, but she won a couple awards, some of these state book awards, the William Allen White Award and the Dorothy Canfield Fisher Award. So That's pretty neat that you were reading these books by a local
Oh,
author.
yes, yes. I didn't even know it. Like I said, I was probably in fourth or fifth grade.
And
Yep.
learning to draw from her.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Wow. That's wonderful.
Well, she also did this next one. Whoops, there we go.
Oh, Black
Black
Penny.
Penny was
Yes.
one of her famous books.
Yes. Yep.
And once again, I can see a difference in the style and the skill that you have in the two different drawings you did.
Oh, yes. It's pretty apparent, isn't it? Look at these goofy little daisies I put around there. I mean, all all the time that I put in drawing those little daisies, I think that's kind of silly. And also I began to notice that the old drawings are carefully done in, what is that? Just printing, just like capital letters and printing. And
Mhm.
if I really liked a drawing that I did, well, then I wrote it in cursive, then I was really kind of, yes, uh-huh.
I think you were really good with the second one here with the shading and everything. You can see
Oh,
how.
thank you. Yeah, I just followed it. Basically, yeah, uh-huh. I learned how the shapes, the lighter shapes, they have a certain, um, you just follow the shapes, basically. That's what you do. Um, uh, it's really fun to see this too for myself. It really is.
Well, let's go to the next one.
Sure.
And
Copper Con. Yes.
Khan,
Mm-hmm.
Dorothy Lyons. And what do you remember about that book?
Well, I can't, like I said, this was over 40 years ago, maybe 50 years ago. I can't remember, and I haven't really had time to take a look and see what that was about. So I don't know.
Well, what I
Um,
learned a little bit about Dorothy, and she was born about the same year actually as Phoebe Erickson in Door County. She was born in Michigan,
okay.
across the lake, and she went on when she grew up to become a secretary. She worked as a secretary for the Red Cross, and she happened to be in Hawaii during Pearl Harbor. Can you imagine?
Oh, no.
Witnessed Pearl Harbor. She then
Oh,
went on to become really attached to Connemara ponies,
oh,
which
Connemara, yes, yes.
are an
Mm-hmm.
Irish heritage pony. And she was actually the president of the American Connemara Pony Society at one point.
Oh, wow.
So she worked with
Wow.
the famous illustrator Wesley Dennis.
Oh, Wesley Dennis, my absolute favorite. Absolutely, yes. Mm-hmm.
And this is another great illustration of how you became a little more sophisticated, showing the racing of the horses from the.
Yes, yes. In this drawing, you can really you feel the speed. You can just about feel the speed and the horse's eyes all excited. And this was actually the first time I ever drew a human, I think, a jockey. Otherwise, usually I didn't put any humans on horses at all, but this one I did for sure.
Mhm. Okay, let's see what's next. Smoky.
Ah, Smoky. Yes.
And for this one, what I learned was it was written by, is that Will James?
Yes.
Smoky, they had a subtitle for that one, but Will James was born much earlier in 1892, not much earlier, 10 years earlier, in Canada. And
Oh,
he
yes.
was both an artist and a writer. And so he won the Newbery Award for the Smoky the Cow Horse, is the name, full title,
Yes.
in 1927. So he's pretty well, he's really won some awards too. Now, I could not find a second picture of Smoky, but you can see how you did that one, and you hand printed the letters there. Pretty,
Yes.
the same
Yeah.
graph that you were talking
This
about earlier.
This one I think was a little bit of an early one. Yes, it's funny to see that I did that. I noticed that today when I was looking, but and you can see that the original neckline was in pencil, but when I outlined it in pen, I made it skinnier. I guess I must have not seen that line or something. But yeah, that's
You changed some of the lines on the mane also at the back here, it looks like.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
and here is Fury. This is the
Oh,
one,
Fury. Yes.
this is one by Albert Miller, and I don't know too much about Albert Miller, to be honest. But I love that drawing, the way you have, you've copied the book cover there to some extent, and he looks very dynamic, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. He looks like he's about to do something,
And
something really strong.
what did you use for that one?
That is pen and ink. And you can tell that this is a little bit of even though I did not write it in cursive, it's all in just, you can tell by the muscles that I could really draw the muscles and the fetlocks and everything else. And so that is a little bit later. I don't know, maybe a year or two later than my original ones. So my first ones. Mm-hmm. So it I definitely had confidence when I was doing that one. That's for sure.
And here we have the famous Black Stallion.
Oh, the Black Stallion, yes. Walter Farley, right?
Yep.
I think.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love those books. I just love those books. This is in ink also. And I don't know how in the world I did it. I must have taken just a black pen and I just must have made lines so darn tight that it was solid. And I don't know how in the world I did it because I did not have any black paint or a marker or anything. It's really, the paper is really old and used, but again, I copied the illustration and exactly the highlights, I did it as exactly as I possibly could, and that makes all the difference in the world when you do that.
And the Black Stallion was one of the more famous of the books on horses. He actually, Walter Farley ended up writing, I think, 24 Black Stallion books.
Oh, yeah. And I probably read almost all of them too. I mean, really, yes.
And his son actually continued with the last one from what I heard. Also, it's interesting, during World War II, he joined the Army and he wrote for Yank magazine, which was an Army magazine. And I actually have some copies that were left over from my dad.
Oh my.
Yeah. So I have to go home and look in those old Yank magazines and see if he's written anything there. Also, I just want to point out there's a book sale on Saturday morning, and here is a copy in the book sale for anyone who's interested. So let's see what's next. And this one I could not, I tried looking up all of your authors and you said you didn't have the first name, so I'm not sure this is the right cover for the book, but this author wrote about Irish horses, and I believe that's an Irish name that you have on
Yes, there. I think it is. Yes, it is. I would say that it is.
But I really love the way you've drawn that horse's head and the detail that you put into that one.
Again, that's what I was doing. I was copying the illustration in the book, but by then I could see, I was starting to understand, copy and draw the shapes of those white highlights, because that makes all the difference in the world, all of those different, but of course you got to get the profile right too at the, those, like I said, those were all freehand. And so I got the profile right. And then I just started shading it exactly the way it was in the book. Yeah. And that's in chalk. That is still in chalk. And so I think when I was an adult, I went and I lightly sprayed them so that they didn't smear very, very much. But I used anything and everything. Pencil, pen, chalk, crayon, pastel. So. Oh.
And here's one.
Oh, Chukaro. Yeah.
Chukaro, is that how you pronounce it? Yeah.
That's how I pronounce it anyway, yes.
And yes. What do you know about that one? I couldn't find too much on the author, but the book itself seems to have been pretty important. Let's see, it won the Newbery again in 1959. It seems like these horse books were very popular, but also award-winning books a lot of the time. Oh,
I think they were, yes.
And was this your period where you didn't know how to draw the hooves?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. I hid them in grass. Hey, like I said, snow, you name it, I hid them. Oh, yes. Here we go. I have a little something about it. It was written in 1958 by Francis Calney and illustrated by Julian Demiski. It won a Newbery honor in 1959. Although a work of fiction, it contains factual information about gauchos on the pampas of South America and their way of life, including details about their work, what they wear and eat, and how they entertain themselves. So Gaucho, it's got to be a cowboy. I think it was a cowboys in South America.
So now let's move on to Misty of Chincoteague, I believe.
Yes.
Noted, right?
Yes.
And of course, that's one of the most famous horse books, I think, out there.
Yes.
We have those books in the library still. But the fun thing I found out about the author is that she was born in Milwaukee. And who knew, because she wrote about these horses that
who knew? Yes. How about that?
She was born in 1902, so a couple years before Phoebe Erickson, who was born in Door County.
Mm-hmm.
And she had rheumatic fever as a child at the age of 5. So she could not go to school. She was in bed till she was 12 years old.
Oh my.
But that gave her an opportunity to write. So believe it or not, she sold her first story at the age of 11. Can you imagine? She was an early one.
Oh my.
And then she also went on to win a Newbery and wrote 59 books. And she apparently wrote about true stories about the horses, not just fiction, but true stories. So one of her famous ones is Justin Morgan.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then Misty, of course, is based on the horses out on the East Coast.
Yes, I think it's off the coast of Virginia. The Assateague and Chincoteague were the towns that they named. And for some reason, I kind of remember that the ponies on one of the islands, I think, came from a ship that had shipwrecked a long time ago, and the ponies, I think, swam to the island, and there they prospered, but they were getting a little too big there, so they had to sometimes cull the herd, you might say, and so they would come over and they would somehow get them swimming back to the mainland or something. It was something like that. That I read that a long time ago, so I'm pretty sure that that's how it went.
Well, I want to say one thing. I mentioned this to my sister, and so she found a book that she had. She said, way when we were little kids, that we went to Prangies in Green Bay, and the author was there signing books. So she has a book of Misty of Chincoteague, and inside the author has signed her name.
And that's wonderful.
He has the horse talking to my sister saying, "Hi, it's yeah. I'm Misty. Hi, Nikki, I'm Misty." And then down at the bottom to the little girl with hair the color of a palomino. So I think that's a treasure.
It is.
My sister had that.
Yes, yes. That's wonderful.
Special. And it makes sense that she was from Milwaukee and then, touring and going to Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I think you did a great job with this one, with the shading again and the color.
Well, thank you.
And here's a little bit more.
Yep. Okay, there's two of them. Yes, Stormy Misty's Full. And yes, there are two of them there. Yes. Like you can see, this one is a direct copy of that. Okay, there we go. An exterminator, old bones, they call them. Yeah, I think it was a horse race.
The name of the horse?
I think he ran in races, I think. Here we go. Yes. He won the 1918 Kentucky Derby, and then listen to this. Then ran another 100 races before his retirement. Oh my goodness. That's the horse, not the jockey. That's the horse. I can't believe that he ran that many races. My goodness.
So you have Exterminator. I'm guessing the jockey has him on a line on the one picture, and then is that his foal there with him on the right side?
No, let's see now.
Remember what you were drawing back then?
No, I think this was just a pony friend that Exterminator had. Sometimes they would put smaller horses out with the other ones to kind of calm them down, I think. I think that's what that was. And this one, The Old Bones one, it's one of the first times I think I put a human on a horse. It wasn't very often that I did that. I mentioned that before, but
Yeah.
it's a jockey. There you go. Just a few times I did
But
that.
you can tell the horse by the white mark on his
Yes,
forehead.
yes, you can. Yes. Yeah.
And here's the Marguerite Henry book on the Justin Morgan horse.
Oh, yes, yes.
And apparently this this horse was the father of all the Morgan horses
Yes, you're right.
at one point, right?
Yep.
No, the man who raised it became, you know, what the horse was named after him. That's what I read, I think.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, that was a good one too. That was good.
And here
Oh,
we
and
have another
Thunderhead.
author, Mary O'Hara.
Mary O'Hara. Yes.
And what was her famous book?
My friend Flicka.
There you
My,
go.
my friend Flicka. Yes.
Made famous also by a TV series and movies.
Yes.
And how did you draw that one? It looks sort of like a ghost-like outline.
I was trying to figure that out, actually. I don't know how I got it so soft like that. I don't know if I had a little piece of gray chalk and I did it that way. It's possible because it does not look like pencil shading. It's very, very soft. But you can see that it's almost a direct copy of the one on the cover there. That's exactly where I got it. So yeah, I kind of made his eye a little bit big there, you know, like he really means business on this one.
Okay. Let's see what's next. King of the Wind again,
Oh.
Marguerite Henry.
Yep, King of the Wind. Yeah. Oh yeah, she really did a beautiful job with her stories. I loved the way that she wrote those books. I just love those stories.
And I
Yeah.
found another one that's going to be at the sale in the basement.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And from what I read, she had Wesley Dennis do all of her drawings except the very last book, I believe. So that they must have been, those are his illustrations again.
Yes. Yes.
He was really something. He apparently didn't start out thinking that he would be an illustrator, but he ended up.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
He
Oh.
was born in 1903 and grew up on a farm in Cape Cod, of all places. And then he failed at the U.S. Naval Academy exam, and he dropped out of school at 17. So then he started drawing, and his brother was drawing for newspapers and specialized in dogs. And then Wesley specialized in horses, and eventually started drawing for books, couple different authors, as we've noticed already. And then he actually went to France to study drawing and learned anatomy, horse anatomy there. So he became really, really good, but it sounds like in the beginning was not too interested in it.
Wow. And I just love how he illustrated those. I mean, maybe I never would have even started trying to draw them if I wouldn't have absolutely loved those illustrations that he did. Just loved them.
And now here's another.
Oh, Top Kick. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And apparently Helen, or Watson's husband, was in the military. And so she wrote a bunch of books about animals that were in the military. And can you tell us something? You sure changed the way he looked. You have him with a black mane in one and not in the other. Why would you have changed that, do you think?
I really don't know why. I can tell you one thing. I can definitely tell that the one on the right in all brown is a very early one, because I can tell by the shape of the eyes. Can you see that on the colt and the mare? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Otherwise, well, the hooves are okay here. But I guess I just wanted to do it over again, probably to get it a little bit closer to the illustration in the book. But it definitely does look different, doesn't it? I mean, it really, really does. The face also on the colt is so small compared to his body, and you see that there's better what do you call it? It fits together better. Mhm.
It's interesting that you tried the same drawing twice.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
Mm,
I didn't actually
mm.
notice that before.
Yeah, in different, what
It
did
is.
you, did you use crayons for those or pencils, or what do you think?
Well, I definitely had pencil. Yeah, it was the one on the right was pencil and crayon. It looks to me like it might have been chalk on the left one because it looks kind of like charcoal for the tail and the
Mhm.
legs, and it's so soft. Can you see how there's no stroke marks? And so I have a feeling that I put some color in there and then I just blended it with my finger. I just have a
Mhm.
feeling that I did that. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up.
And here we are, Marguerite Henry again. And as I mentioned, she seemed to do all nonfiction, or she fiction, a historical fiction, let's put it that way, of horses that really existed.
Hmm.
So this one is probably one of your earlier ones, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I think so. Even though I was drawing hooves at the time, but when I look at it, especially the paddock or whatever that is, it just looks really like it doesn't fit. It's so simple, and the lines are the angles are not good at all. But actually, the drawing isn't really too bad. I mean, the horse is real high in the air, in the face and everything, so that looks sort of okay. But
Mhm.
yeah, I can tell it's just very simple here.
Oops, I jumped over one and I don't know what it was. Um, sorry.
Hmm.
Well, let's go on to My Friend Flicka, which is one of the most famous ones, just like Misty, I would say,
Yes.
because they did so much with it, making it into movies and TV shows. I remember watching the TV series when I was young, so it must have been pretty early on. And look
And
how
I,
you've drawn the boy there. This,
yes, he was another only like maybe the second person that I drew. You know what I mean? Second or third person that I drew. But what I was looking at home here before I came here is that this Flicka has two white pieces on his nose. This one has a long blaze on his nose on the right,
Mhm.
and it just didn't look right to me. Uh, so and the mane and the forelock there is brown on this one on the left, and here on the right it's white. So I'm not quite sure if I got that right or not, if I named them right or not,
Or
or
maybe
maybe there were
different artists
different artists. I don't know.
for the
It could
different
be.
things. Yeah.
It could be. Hmm.
That story sounds pretty sad from what I was reading about it, with the young boy whose parents didn't approve of what he was doing. So then he took on the challenge of Flicka. There's actually a little video about that was made by Wyoming PBS about the author, Mary O'Hara. And apparently she had a horse named Flicka. And one sad scene in the story is where the horse is in water and the boy, Ken, goes and holds up the head of the horse overnight. And apparently the real Flicka did not make it.
Oh,
But you can imagine she wanted the horse to live, so she wrote a book about the horse living. So that's, to me, really makes me want to read the
oh,
book and understand more about it.
oh, yes, yes, yeah. Oh my goodness.
And then she did write more books on that series, didn't she? But there is a video, and I have a link to it on our library website. I'll show you how to get there when we're done.
Okay,
And then Black Beauty,
Black Beauty.
who is very famous. The author actually wrote the book way back in 1877, from what I read.
Yes. Uh-huh.
She died a few months later, but she was hoping to bring attention to the treatment of horses in England at this time. They were used, there weren't cars everywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
they were used very heavily and abused. And she
Yes.
write the story through the eyes of the horse in order to bring attention to those problems.
Yes. Yes. And when you brought that up to me earlier, I could remember that. I remembered how sad that was, and I was so glad that she did that, you know, to help the horses.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like the way you show the horse here. The Black Beauty looks at peace in the field there.
Oh yes, yes. There's a soft light in the background and a little bit of a water in the front, and just lying down there on the grass, you know, looking happy. So I must have gotten that probably from the book. I would think that I did. So yes, I love that picture too.
Okay, and I think, is this our last one? Man o' War, Walter Farley?
I think so. Yes, by
I
Walter
don't-
Farley. He wrote a lot of books. Yes. Hmm.
And you can see the muscles there.
Oh yes.
Really managed to copy really well in the one drawing. And then
Yes.
the close-up of that's little Vic, grandson of Man o' War. So did he continue to write about the other horses? Do you
Hmm.
remember any of that?
Yes. Yeah. I only wish that I would have on the one on the right that I wish that I would have taken a darker color maybe for the, I think that's in chalk, for the shadows, because it's a little pale, you know what I mean? It's a little too pale. I like the one in the background because it shows up, but this drawing here is a little bit pale. But other than that, the shadows look nice. So yeah.
And then you mentioned that you had this oil painting you did
Oh, the oil painting,
on
yes.
that book. Again,
Yes.
Wesley Dennis.
Hmm.
So there's the book. I found it. I found the book cover.
Oh, there it is. Yes. Yes. Uh-huh. Oh, like I said, I absolutely loved Wesley Dennis's paintings. They're just beautiful. And I don't know if you can know, I think you can notice that in my picture here. I copied the horse's face to a T, basically. And look at the horse's eye. He
Mhm.
sometimes had the ability to make, to, to give them a little bit of a human look to them. Like you could really see some human feelings in their faces. And that's what I loved about them. I really did. You know, it's just a tiny little bit of difference there, and it made all the difference in the world to me, you know. And when I was looking at all of his paintings, they're just beautiful. So yeah.
And then I just wanted
Oh.
to add a couple of your adult drawings that are here in the library. The one, I'm very fortunate to have the one on the left over my desk,
Yes.
and I get to see it every day. And then the other one is in the children's section of the library. So if anyone wants to come in and have a look at them, you're welcome to do that. They're just gorgeous.
Well, thank you. I want to explain on the one on the right. She's standing there, you know, and looking kind of down, kind of. She let her turtle go in the water. That's what the bucket is for, by her feet. And right over here, that where she's looking, you can see there's a little spot in the water. That's where the turtle is. Yeah.
Are those pastel or what did you use?
Yes, yes, they are. You can tell because they're behind a mat like that. Yes. They are pastel.
And then I have a couple more of your pictures. This one on the right is in the library again. It's upstairs.
Yes.
Desks, and it's just gorgeous. And then the other one was exhibited in some galleries here in Door County.
That's an oil, the one on the left. The one on the right, you can't see the color very well, but it is much more colorful when you come up and take a look in the library upstairs. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the end of our slides.
Okay.
And I hope everyone enjoyed the program. What I want to do is quickly show you where to go find a list of the books. I'm actually inspired to read some of these books maybe with my grandchildren when I get to go visit with them. And let me show you how to find those books. If you go to our library website, DoorCountyLibrary.org, to the calendar and find this program under June 24th, I put a link at the bottom of it to some of these the books that Mary drew pictures of. And also the video about from Wyoming Public TV about Mary O'Hara. It's taking a minute to come in, but once you open this up on your computer at home, you can click on the links. I think it's coming in. There we go. So these are really interesting videos on YouTube. And if you click these links, you'll find the books that Mary drew in the libraries through InfoSoup. In some cases, there are movies that were made based on the books. So.
I wanted to say something that I just wonder if it was my love of horses that made me want to draw them so much. And if I did not have that when I was younger, the love of horses, I don't know if I ever would have found out that I was an artist, or that I could have been an artist, or that the drawings made me an artist. So I find it very amazing sometimes to wonder, what would I have done? You know what I mean? What would I have turned out to be? Anything? Nothing? I don't know. But it was all those beautiful horse pictures in those books that made me turn into an artist. Isn't that something?
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I do have a really good quote from Phoebe Erickson, who is also a Door County artist like you.
Okay.
She, as I say, she grew up just north of Bailey's Harbor, and she wrote in one of the old newspaper articles, "Much of my early education I owe to my parents, the rest to the public library."
Oh,
So,
how wonderful.
that's something
Yes.
you might have said.
Yes. Mm-hmm. How
Well,
wonderful.
Thank you for sharing your experience as a child, learning to draw, and your experience in the library.
Well,
And,
thank you.
and I hope some people will come in and visit your pictures here in the library, and also check out the books based on those.
Okay.
Pictures
That sounds good. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.